These ceiling hatches occur a couple of different places around the boat, and it's always been a bone of contention for us both, especially Lady Catherine, that these things are worn out and letting light through and kind of stained and looking like crap. So in order to replace these, tell us real quick what you have to do and what you've done so far.
What you've got to do is first you got to remove all the bung holes that are filling these holes right here. I actually have taken these out already.
So those screws are covered by little wood circles known as bungs.
Right. So the way that I did, so that's the first thing that has to happen. And the way that I did it was that I took a drill and I put it right in the middle of the bung hole, right like that. And I drill a little hole. You got to be careful you don't want to like rail it on the screw underneath and ruin that. So you got to be very careful, but you got to put that in there, drill a little hole, little ways in, and then you take something like this. This is a great tool. I've used this
turn it sideways so we can see it.
I've used this
for
like almost all of them. And you just go in with your little pick and you pick it out like that.
Look at that.
Sometimes it comes out in pieces, but lots of times they just come right out, and then you've got this clean hole. And sometimes I take a screwdriver, a small screwdriver like this, just to, just a flathead, just to clean up the hole a little bit if there's a little bit of residue left or anything like that.
And so the next thing we're going to do is use a screwdriver and try to remove the actual screw heads.
Right. That's the next step.
All right, we'll check back later. All right, so we unscrewed all the little screw. How many holes were there?
16.
16 of these little babies right here. Stainless steel, so the magnet didn't help us try to pull them out. And so now this is clean and clear. Keep your dust towel down. This is not our bedspread. This is a beach towel. But it was a bloody mess with sawdust. So, okay, so now that exposes what?
There should be, see these little, I believe these little tabs right here.
Yeah.
I watched a YouTube video and they expose other screws underneath here.
Okay. No, they actually don't expose any more screws, because by the time we got that open and we looked in there, there were no 4 screws on our corners. So we just opened those tabs and moved on to next steps. So we're going to unscrew this. We're going to get this off for the next step?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got some help from one of the other island packet owners who said the key is this tab right here. You pull back on this tab and then this gets exposed and a lip pops loose. Can you come under here and see this little lip right there? And then you end up having to work your knife all the way around the entire thing to release that seal. And then you come around over here on this side and do the same thing. Where did I go? I'm confused now.
No, up.
Oh, up here.
Yep.
There you go. The corners are kind of tough, but look at this. Look at this.
Oh my God, it came off.
Live right here on camera as we solve a mystery that dozens, if not more, of island packet owners have been stumped with how to get this thing out of here. And one of the island packet owners came right through and helped us. Now that we got the entire assembly removed from the hatch, we were able to remove the shade roller from this point right here. And the way that we facilitated that was by releasing this tab using a little screwdriver like this right here, and then things slide that direction. So in this case down here, we released the tab from this hole and things slid this way. So this actually goes into here like this. But we separated that and then we pulled the shade out of there, unrolled it, and Lady Catherine is over here putting it back together with the newly cut shade material. And describe to us what you had to do here to facilitate the return of it onto the roller, which can be seen right here.
There's a little bead of plastic that's down in here that you need for the track. To get it back in the track, you got to take that out and save it and put it back in. I used a shade from Walmart that I just cut off the roller, so it already had a hem in it. If you don't have a hem in yours, you need to probably tape it up with some sail tape like that. And I'm just putting a tiny little piece on the end here. You can see the plastic piece is in there. It's really tiny.
It's almost like a wire.
Yeah, but it's plastic. And I'm just gonna set that in there so that it doesn't slip out.
And let me show them where that plastic piece that I'm calling a wire, it really isn't a wire, it goes into this track at this point right here. Okay, so when you open this portion up, you're going to pull the rolled up assembly out, and the last thing that's going to come out is that plastic wire out of that track.
So I put a roll of the sail tape on the roller on the other side, and now I'm gonna...
The two-sided sail tape is going to stick to the very edge. This will be the most rolled part up, and the plastic wire that I just described is up here on this end, right?
Right.
All right.
So I'm just rolling that up, getting that to stick on.
Imagine it'd be pretty important to roll that straight.
I think I got it fairly straight. We'll see. Roll it pretty. I tried to iron out these creases, but they wouldn't come out, so they'll relax when the sun hits it.
I think as long as it's cut straight,
I think
that when it
that's-
deploys, it'll fix itself when it rolls
I
up.
think that's pretty good right there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, okay. So now we've got the spring tensioner here that we've got to figure out how to reinstall.
Yeah, well, when we slide this into the track again, this will all just insert in there, and you just, with your hand, you're going to hold that in while we put that piece back together.
Yeah, but I think you might have to adjust it, but we can check.
Okay.
All right.
She's having trouble getting the plastic wire into the track, so she put a little bit of liquid soap on there to act as a lubricant.
There we go.
Look at that. Gotta roll it a little bit to get it into the hole there.
So it seems to be helping. Won't hurt anything. Okay. Whew. Got a lot of soap on it, but can't put really anything else on it, so.
You're further in than you've been in 4 or 5 attempts.
Yeah.
Don't give up now. She's about halfway in there.
Some underneath here. Feel it.
So tell the viewers what you just told me about the price of these things when you buy them new to replace.
So these are like, I don't know, I think I priced them out. I think they're like $600 for this size. Something like that.
And what are you into for replacement materials?
Well, the shade was under $10, and I'll get several uses out of it. And the then we've just got the screen. And
So for like 20 bucks, we're renewing this whole thing
so
instead of 600.
and then like 0.225 cents of a cell tape.
So incredibly close. Oh, we are fractionally away from a finish line here. All right, so I need to catch you up on some stuff that I didn't catch on camera. So she got the fabric back into the track there, and now we're trying to put this piece and this piece back together. And what was key was to pop this little tab out and expose the blade on this silver rod, and you take the blade in your fingers and you turn to put tension back onto here. And when you get it where it seems pretty much too tight, then you insert the blade back into the end right there in the middle. The end of the blade goes into the middle of that tab, so then that whole circle locks into here at this point here and these points down here. Then when you go to put this back together, remember that this tab has to be on the outside of that track, because it's going to pop in right here at this point, like how it is down here. See how it's out? So you have to leave this, bend this out as you put this in, bend this out as you put this in and this in, and then up here, this goes on the outside. So you can look down there at that end for clues to put this back together. All right, I got it back together, and the key to making that work was actually, again, on the far end. What I had to see was where the roller pin meets that hole right there. You got to make sure that's lined up, otherwise it's going to be blocking you. So as soon as you line that up, you can put it vertical like this, give it some gentle taps, and then it pops into place with that pin in there. Now for the side with the screen, right? We finished the shade. Now we're going to do the screen side. Same thing, you release this tab from its position right here. And what I did is I released on the other side as well, so that when I'm separating this lower section, it's not putting a strain over here. And then I used a rubber mallet to gently tap along here to create some separation. All right, so we got the screen out. I'm sorry I did not film that process, but I was by myself while Catherine was doing laundry. And it comes out from the opposite end. You may remember on the video that the roller shade released from this end. Well, this one actually releases from the other end, because this track right here, that silver piece, let me point at it, this will not release from here or down here, but it very clearly, easily released from over there. So it's basically just the opposite end, where the roller shade, the working end, is where the plunging pin was, and the net is on the opposite end of the plunging pin right here, as I'm calling it. Okay, so this track releases from the opposite end, not from the end with this little button here. So after removing our screen and opening it all the way, we decided it was still serviceable enough to not warrant a change. So Lady Catherine took it into the shower and gave it a good bath and cleaned it up, and I have reinserted it into the track. No soap required, much easier to do on this side. So we're going to put this baby back together and start talking about how to put it back in the hatch. All right, we have been off camera for probably an hour now, trying to work on the tension on both the screen and the shade. We ended up taking the four corners apart again and had a heck of a time getting it back together again. So this is the part where I'm going to apologize for losing some steps here potentially, but now we're going to try to tension these things with the four corners together, because it was not working with the four corners off. All right, so we worked on the tension while it was in there, and then I demonstrated it 4 or 5 times on both the screen and the shade, and everything worked great. And then Catherine came back from the laundry and I demonstrated it for her, and this corner popped out. We had a heck of a time getting it to align here, and then of course the tab here. All the other three corners were all set. And so it wouldn't go, it wouldn't go, it wouldn't go. So what ultimately ended up making it go was opening the screen to make this thinner up here, and then it slid right in there and popped in. I can see right here that button needs to go into that hole. Let me just do that real quick. All right, so we need to tension the screen side because the shade side is pretty good, but the screen side, even though it'll roll back up in there without a whole lot of effort, what happens is when I put these two together, okay, so when I close the shade like that, if I let go of it, there's more tension on the shade than there is on the screen, so watch what happens. The shade wins the battle, and it pulls the screen down some, which will let daylight in and defeats the purpose of the shade. So I need to adjust the tension on the screen. The way we adjust the tension is on this little 3-slotted button right there, okay? You're gonna stick a screwdriver in one of the, in the middle slot. You're gonna push that silver part back, and then you're gonna rotate counterclockwise until the button pops out of the track. And then when the button is out of the track, you'll use your hand and clockwise tighten the silver bar and the button at the same time, and then stick it back into the track and let the track hold the tension. All right, so I got the button popped out of there. Oh, that was tension. Yeah, just lost all my tension. Now I get to wind it up again. That was funny on camera, right? But I'm gonna put the button onto the silver blade, and I'm gonna wind it as tight as I possibly can with my finger, and then I stick it back into that hole right there and do a little clockwise turn to lock it into the track. All right, so after adjusting the tension at the little button here, I think I have it to full tension. So we can close the screen and it latches on there. And we notice that when it's like this, it'll close it without any gap. If you turn it this way, it does start to fall, but that's not how it goes in your hatch. It goes like this. And what matters is, does it close when it's like that? And it does hold. So then we can go full to screen as well. And turn it like it's in the hatch. And then we'll open it up. Separate the two little magnets. And then you have open air. I think we're calling it done, and we're going to put it away. These corners are really a pain. But remember, we never had these screws on these corners, and so did somebody else on the Island Packet Facebook page, so just remember that. But these are hidden by your wooden teak frame, or at least ours were. Okay, so next day we have put the frame back up again. What we found worked for us was putting the teak wood frame on the outside and putting it all up at once, and then we took turns holding it as we put screws back into the holes, and then did it like a tire, where you start here and you start there and you go over there, and then we did it all, tighten them up again. The only thing left to do is replace new bungs to cover those holes. And then we'll have to, sand and color match later, but that's varnish work. And if you've come this far, you probably know how to do that. So pretty good job, I think. Oh yeah, they got tested for you, right? So here's the shade. And then we have a cushion atop that to keep the daylight out while we're working in here. And then the screen, there's the screen. Release it, go back, baby it a little bit. Good to go.